Welcome back to DaBoot Tragedies. In case you missed it, I did drop some news yesterday. The Discord channel is now up. The Twitch channel is now up. I will be using those things constantly as time goes on, still planning some things out. But the links are in the descriptions. So if you want to follow that, man, join that Discord, follow that Twitch channel. I appreciate it. Now let's jump into these running backs, man. Last year, very putrid year. As a rushing attack, was the worst rushing attack I've ever seen the Saints have, and that's saying a lot, man. It was so bad last season. Obviously, with the offensive line being in shambles, Armstead hurt, Ramchick hurt, Pete hurt, Eric McCoy hurt, Cesar Ruiz had a terrible year. It was just very bad, as a team, as a rushing attack. Hopefully this year we'll get better, man. Just a couple quick stats. Last year, we averaged 3.9 yards per carry. That is absolutely awful. Coming off the previous season, we averaged 4.6, which is pretty good. And with the offensive line being hurt, obviously the quarterback play didn't help. Teams would just stack the box. They didn't respect Trevor Siemian, Ian Book, Taysom Hill when they were out there as real, tough throwing threats. And also the receivers being super bad. You can just key in on the run because the receivers aren't getting any separation. So it was all bad. But now let's jump into it, man. We're going to start off with no other than Alvin Kamara, who I think is the best running back in the NFL. But I'm being honest, it's hard to make those arguments as of late, man. He just hasn't been producing. Obviously, it's not his fault from all the reasons I listed, previously. But let's just take a look at Alvin Kamara's 2020 season before we jump into his last season. 2020, he played 15 games, ran for 932 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 5 yards a carry. That was an absolute great year. I mean, he was splitting carries with Latavius Murray. It was almost half and half. But then last year, played 13 games, 898 rushing yards, 4 touchdowns, averaged 3.9 yards a carry. I know I listed some reasons on why those things happen. Quarterbacks, receivers, offensive line. But you just can't have that. You have to have a better season. It's no way in hell Alvin Kamara shouldn't finish the year with over 1,000 rushing yards ever in his career for at least the next 4 years. It's just he's too talented. He's too good of a player. So I'll definitely be looking at how Pete Carmichael uses him. I know Sean Payton didn't want him to get hurt, so didn't want to really run him a lot and things like that. So we'll see how Pete does with Alvin Kamara. But let's predict some of these stats for next year. All right, this estimate is gonna kind of be based off a 15-14 game season, just because. Who knows what they're going to do with that suspension. If it's 6 games, obviously you'll have to adjust it or whatnot. But, man, I'm not going to go into, super specifics, but I do think Alvin Kamara will run for, 1,200 yards this year. I do think it'll be his highest rushing, total of his career. It's crazy to even think that he's never broken 1,000 yards, in a season. But I think this year will be the year, man. His average will be back up after just looking at his years in the NFL. 6.1, 4.6, 4.7, 5.0 until 3.7 last year. I do think it'll be up this year, back around that 4.5 mark, which is going to be real good. Hopefully it can be closer to that 5, which it may be. Actually, I'm going to probably say it's going to be around that 5, man. The receivers are better. Quarterback's back healthy. Teams are going to have to respect the pass, so that's going to be good. I do think he'll have over 10 touchdowns again. I'll probably set the number at 12. That's going to be about 1 a game for him. That's very doable. He'll knock off a couple of games where he have multiple touchdowns. He's just that good of a player. And I do want to talk about his receiving, because I do think his receiving will take a hit this season, and that's not saying it's a bad thing. He's not losing a step or anything like that. But if you look at his first couple years in the NFL, man, from his rookie year, 100 targets, 105 targets, 97 targets, 107 targets, and then last year 67. Almost cut in half his targets, which basically cut his receptions in half. I do think this year his receptions will take another hit, and that's only because we actually have receivers now. We got Chris Olave, we got Jarvis Landry, we got MT coming back. We're going to have Callaway, Deontay Hardy, maybe even Traquan, maybe even some of these guys that were undrafted. We're going to have a talented receiver room. We're going to have a tight end, and Taysom Hill now that's going to be taking targets. So I do think his receiving will take a hit this year. Not necessarily a bad thing. We'll still, use him when we need him. But I do think he'll still have about 40 catches on a year, which is still, like I said, that's half of the production he was giving you his first couple years in the league. But I do think it'll be for the betterment of the team in this case. Now, look, I know injuries have been concerning for Alvin Kamara. So like Sean Payton, when he was called into plays, he didn't want to get him involved too much. Wasn't really crazy about getting him over 20 to 25 touches in the game. But hey, I know I want to keep him healthy as possible as well. But man, we got to get Alvin Kamara the ball anyway, anyhow. The guy is too good. He's too talented. We just can't have games where he's finishing with, 7-8 carries for 35, 40 yards or something crazy like that, man. He should be getting no less than 15 carries a game, in my opinion, at least 5 catches. That's 20 touches right there. It should be more, but I think that's a good start. We'll see how this plays out, man. Let me know what y'all think about Alvin Kamara, the stats, what he'll get, how he'll look this year behind a new offensive line. Not a new offensive line, but Armstead obviously not going to be there, so it's going to be a new left tackle. And you can kind of call it new because Pete wasn't there last year. McCoy was hurt. Hopefully Ruiz improves, and we know what Ramchek's going to bring us. So let me know what y'all think, man. How would his stats look? How you think Pete Carmichael's going to use him? I'm not going to do any other running backs. I'm probably going to come back to this. Closer to when the season starts, maybe after preseason, I'll just go ahead and do another one of these because I don't know who's going to be the backup, who's going to be the third string, who's going to make the team. Like, you honestly have guys like Abram Smith, who I think is probably good enough to be the backup running back, but he also may not make the team just because it's only a certain amount of roster spots you have, and I think they're going to give Mark Ingram a roster spot. Then you have Dwayne Washington, who's a special teams guy, then Tony Jones Jr., who had a great preseason showing last year, so we just don't know who's going to take over that role, so I don't even want to waste time doing stats on a backup running back at the moment. And also Taysom being out the picture, well, as they say, Taysom probably being out the picture as a running threat, that's going to leave more opportunities for guys, maybe a red zone back or something like that. And I still think the Saints may make a move for a running back because Ack might get suspended for 6 games. They may look at some guys on rosters after cuts. So I'm only comfortable with doing Ack right now, man. Let me know what y'all think in the comments below. And also, man, the Discord and the Twitch, can y'all please follow those channels, man? I know a lot of y'all been supporting me for a while. Couple new things we're trying out now, man, trying to expand it a little bit, but the Discord link is in the description. Also, the Twitch channel is in the description. We'll probably try to do the first stream sometime this week, but as always, man, it's DaBoot Tragedies, and I'm out.